Okay, so we need to talk about Demonform. Now, don't worry, guys. I know I need an item filter. That part has already been taken care of. So I decided to make this video because Demonform is a class that I've been playing practically since the beginning, since level 70, I'd say. I did start off with Summoner. I got really bored really fast. I think we all know at what point, like tier 5, tier 7, when we all got the reality check, right? The tier maps of 5 and 7. They get really hard, and I don't know, I just got sick of like standing in the background and letting the minions do all the work. So yeah, that's why I decided to do this build, and while I explain a few things, sorry for the nervousness, first video ever by the way. While I explain a few things, I would like to leave this video of my first ever 10 breaches map playing in the background, because this was an amazing experience, truly. To talk about quickly about the iterations we went through, first when I swapped to Demonform, I actually went with Demonform Hexblast, that is. I went with the 10 Demon Flame stacks. Now that's basically shooting yourself in the foot. It can work for some time, it's a cute concept, but you know, when you get to tier 14, tier 15 maps, no, just forget about it. It's not enough, the buff is not enough, like staying in Demonform non-stop is cute, but it does not work. Then we just went with how the build basically works now, with the full health regen, trying to get that as high as possible, trying to get that to like 150, 200 stacks, if you really get some good gear, enough jewels. However, as I said, there are certain bosses in this game that have like 20 plus million health, and it's just not ideal, right? It's just not one of those boss melter thingies. Although I did try to plan to make this more of a breach clearer, as you see here. I wouldn't call it an S tier, right? But still, I would call this A tier clear speed, because breaches are fun, right? Who doesn't want to do breaches? Still, there were certain bosses which I could manage, sure, with skill, with being, you know, quick on foot and like dodging and everything, but then I had a few reality checks when I lost like 1000 exalted orbs on resources to get to certain bosses that just melted me in 5 seconds. So, this is why we play this. Curses and chaos, that's my thing. Since WoW, where we had like, you know, priests putting curses and then abusing those curses on enemies, I have always loved this concept. This is why I also gravitated toward this build. Like I mentioned, this is not an S tier build. This is not something that like guys like Fabgun or Empyrean, and no shade to those guys, I love what you guys do. All I can do is learn, because this is my second game after, like, this is my second Diablo, like, yes, I went there. So yeah, it's not an S tier clearing build, but still it has a very, very high damage. Those are a few of the things I would like to point out on this build. So Hexblast can easily be brought over 1 million DPS. I mean, who doesn't want to do that, right? So that's why I loved it. Hexblast is one of the highest damaging spells, even though it's a mana hungry bitch, and slow to cast and has a small radius. We worked around all of that. We made all of that work. We made all of the problems go away. It does take some time, does take some levels, does take some gear, but I love where this build is right now. So it has very high damage, as I showed. The mobility on this thing is amazing. If you can also get like faster movement speed boots on it, that would be nice. I think I'm rocking 15% or something, because your dashes also become quicker. And yeah, just a fantasy, just a engaging playstyle of it, right? Where you can dash in. It's kind of a mid-range style of a character where you kind of dash in. You have to wait for the mobs to get the curses on them, although you will see interactions if you are playing this build where you cast Hexblast while you are moving forward, and before it starts popping, you actually come into range of the mobs. So after you cast Hexblast, they get cursed and still get hit by the explosions. It's a very nice spell. And yeah, I really wanted to make it for clearing breaches, although there is a surprise at the end, and there is a new direction that I'm taking this build with, because I just discovered simulacrums. But that's a different video. I discovered it when everything for this video was prepared and finished, so, you know, second video, if you guys like this one. So I wanted to do breaches. I wanted to do late game bosses. That's it. That's what I wanted to focus on, right? Um, and I think we got it there. Very quickly, I would like to talk about a few of the iterations. So for the breaches here, I was still using the slower open close, I think, in this footage, although I'm not sure. We did stop using that. And for the iterations where I tried taking these builds, as I said, I did go 10 Demon Flame stacks, and then I started trying out different things because it just wasn't working anymore. And we are gonna point out those things. So the Pyromantic Pact is one of the ascendancies where you can basically ignore the fact that you have mana. Kind of makes you want to go with fire damage, but then you also want to make your ignites better, but then your ignites on yourself are also more detrimental. And like there is a cloak that prevents you from being ignited, but then you can't wear Ghostrite, right? So I don't know, the whole concept, the whole thing, like grinding games. I love your game, you made an excellent product, but please just make something work here, because currently it's a big no. It's a big no. One other iteration I had tried was going Essence Train with Contagion, which is also something you probably have basically seen, and it's also a very good leveling option if you are going with Chaos as your leveling. But yeah, in late game maps, it's not enough. I even went with the whole Wildflower, faster projectiles. I tried to make it kind of like the Fireball thingy with Pyromantic Pact. I will show off quickly the build later, but it's not it. You can't get there, right? Like breaches, although I will point out breaches, especially the 40% extra density breaches, those are probably the best option for Essence Train Contagion, right? Because you need a horde of monsters, and most of the endgame content, unfortunately, just doesn't have such a such a high concentration of monsters where you can make it viable. Right. So that's it. Those are the options that we are going with before. And here is where I want to show you the reality check, right? So the 10 Demon Flame, very quickly, the 10 Demon Flame dream, how did it die? Some of you guys are going to recognize this, and most of you probably understand already what's about to happen, right? No further comment. Okay, so now it's time to break the game. Now it's no more fair fight. Now it's no more 10 demon stacks. Now it's no more fair play. Let's just say no more fair play. First off, let's point out how this build actually works, right? We are using Ghostrite Tethered Rope. Ideally, you actually want to get Ghostrite Tethered Rope. Sorry, let me fix the camera here a bit. First video, by the way, guys, so please excuse me if I'm doing any amateur things. I won't try to explain too much here. Everyone understands already how this thing works, right? It's a very popular cloak. It's a very easy, cheap way to make a strong build, basically, especially if you go with Chaos Inoculation, which does not work with this build, by the way. But yeah, basically you want a single Ghostrite, and if possible, you want 1 or 2 Minx Hearts. Now, when you're starting this build off, when you get to like the second ascendancy, where you have the 4 points, I would actually recommend starting it off as a 10 Demon Flame stack build, and just all you need is Ghostrite. These things are so plentiful. Like if you will watch top streamers, they don't even bother picking this shit up. So you can get it easily, you can get it cheap, you can get it for 1 exalt. One thing you can also get is the corrupted version, where it has 60% of life converted into energy shield, which is probably the best version. And if you can get one of those with the quality on the energy shield and the sockets, you're good to go. That's all you need. That one's probably gonna cost a bit more than 1 exalt, but still, it's worth it. 1 or 2 Minx Hearts, because just, you know, the damage is good, the reduced maximum life is good, it just brings you to that perfect break point. But what is basically actually making this build work currently is Mask of the Stitched Demon Feather Tiara. Now this thing is currently not working as intended, and I'm abusing that without a guilty conscience. You just saw my audience with the king. I would like to point out really fast that I was a bit of a noob. I didn't even consider checking how much that costs. I just went and tried to do it, you know, and then I saw how much exalted orbs I basically wasted and threw away, and yeah, I kind of died inside. So that's why I wanted to find a way to actually take on bosses more reliably. That's how we got to the 1 million DPS per second. So Mask of the Stitch Demon is currently working in a bit of a, it has a bit of a broken interaction with Demonform, which we will show off. I think it's currently going for about 1 Divine Orb. So if you're going for this build, this is going to cost you an extra Divine Orb, most likely, I think. That was when I bought it. Which means it's not a cheap build, right? The Minx Hearts are also basically selling for 1 Divine at the moment, so it's not an expensive build, but it's still not cheap. So please keep in mind, these interactions are probably gonna get patched, and we are gonna have to find a way to get, you know, to be satisfied with 100 or 200 stacks of Demon Flame. But if you are able to afford it, if you really want to find a way to like push this build even further, this is it. Just go for this mask while we still have the holidays in front of us and we are probably not getting a patch during them. I hope I'm not just talking out of my ass here and one hasn't already been announced. But yeah, basically those are the basics. That's what you need, and that's how you can make this build work. Very quickly, these are the passives. We will go over them in a bit more detail, but basically what you see here is you want increased AoE, you want a lot of energy shield, like a lot of energy shield, and we do take 2 nodes of stun resist threshold. Being mid-range, being surrounded by mobs, being in the late game with this kind of build that doesn't just kill everything from afar, you really need stun threshold to be high. So that is why I took 2 of them, because one in combination with something else that I'm going to show you was not enough. 2, however, are perfect. We have a lot of mana regen, some casting speed, but most of that is solved through the Arcane Surge and through the Arcane Surge nodes, because we are using Arcane Surge on Hexblast. But yeah, basically that's it. For the Ascendancy, this is what you would take, or this is at least what you take once you have all 4 Ascendancies unlocked. I would say the most important parts are taking, obviously, the Demon Flame, like the Demon Form. After that, the Doggo. I would like to shout out the Doggo, because the Doggo is really, really, really useful. The survivability, sure, kind of helps, but you can put Culling Strike on it, which means certain boss fights are just gonna end when the boss gets to like 10% health. It's amazing. I would recommend it. I love it. But yeah, after that, the second survivability node would be the one where you convert damage into other damage types. Make sure that your resistances are completely filled out before you do that. And then the last one, probably you will want to take some extra spirit from life, which also helps, by the way, with establishing the 200 threshold of life, which we are about to talk about. It's which I'm about to talk about. It's really important to have 200 minus life on this build. For the jewels, oh, I got them. There we go. Those are all of the jewels, basically. So yeah, this is what you want to do. I also had another jewel, which I got just like 1 day ago. I'm gonna show off the tree that I am rocking right now for the simulacrums, but this is basically what you want to have for farming breaches. You need life regen and you need increased AoE. If you get some increased stun threshold on those, that's amazing. Faster totem placement, sure, it's cute, you know, it helps a little bit. Increased skill duration also, but basically you want really high life regen and really high AoE. For the boss melting build, yes, for the boss melting build, basically what you want to do is you take away all of the stun resistance, you take away all of the AoE nodes, and you add a lot of mana, spell damage, and some extra energy shield. You do have to keep in mind, energy shield is gonna get transformed into our health regen. This is what I'm going to show off next. So I know those nodes with energy shield and armor look kind of sus, but this basically means you get more survivability, you get longer demon flame, demon form duration, and you get more damage out of it. So you can basically take it, each second of demon flame is plus 70% spell damage, right? So you just wanna keep it going for as long as possible. This is why we do this for the boss fights. Plus, it gives you some extra survivability. It brings up your energy shield potentially, for me personally, like to 9,000, 9,500, which is great. Moving on. Now we are going to have to explain a few things in here. So how this actually works, right? And please forgive me if there are going to be any whispers. We are going to try to ignore those. But how this basically works, right? I am currently choosing even a bit further. I'm using a very, very high energy shield tiara on myself when I transform into demon form. As you can see, my health is about 200. My shield is 8,867. If I now put on Mask of the Stitch Demon, which says cannot have energy shield, but regenerate 0.05 life per second per maximum energy shield, the energy shield remains. So demon form basically snapshots your energy shield and keeps it on. However, what happens with our health regeneration, sorry, derp there, it goes from 183 to 944. So for us, basically, with Titan's determination, that means that while we are moving, it goes up over 1000. So this is on a farming build. This is not a build that can push the energy shield as high as possible. This is basically the build that you saw before. Very quickly, so we don't forget for later, I'm going to show off what we did now. So I just went and grabbed this jewel socket because it's really close. You only need to spend 4 points. That's basically it. I took out some of the extra energy shield and stuff like that. Right, so this is how it works. This is the broken interaction. This is why it works. The stun threshold. Where did I want to show that off? Let me just quickly gather my thoughts. First, for the iterations, right? What we were using before was the fireball option with the wildflower, where it like explodes into all basically explodes into all sides. One thing I want to check is if the whole infernal flame thingy would work with mana flare, which means on critical hits it would eat away the infernal flame that damages you. But yeah, basically if you want to play with this, you can just go the fireball route as a sorceress would. For bosses, you know, you just use the Ember Fossilate with Flame Blast. You can use some flammability with Raging Spirits. This is the Acid Stray Contagion, nothing to say there, and of course Spark, which is basically very easy to build around. You would just need the ring that converts all your lightning damage to cold, and that's how it would work, right? But yeah, for this build, how it's working, let's continue. So what do we need? We need, right, health regen, we need energy shield, we need stun threshold, we need mana regen and cast speed, we need a lot of AoE, and that's it. We don't need damage. Our damage is coming already from our girl. So what are we using? You already saw the skills, right? So, but this is how the basic setup for the... so you already saw the passive skills, but these are the rest of the skills. So Demon Form, as you know, gives you 25% increased cast speed while... Well, this is awkward. It gives you +6 level to all spells. And also, it gives you... It loses 0.5% of your HP. Sorry, guys. This is derping and now I'm all confused. So, it loses 0.5% of your health per Demon Flame stack. Which means you... basically, the lowest damage that you can get is 1. So, 0.5% is... So 0.5% of 200 HP is 1. This is how it works, right? We are using the faster recovery rate, cooldown recovery rate, or the slower recovery rate, but we can use it twice as fast. So if we transform, we can do it really fast. You don't want to, however, do this with the other helmet equipped, because now it snapshots the lower energy shield that Mask of the Stitched Demon has. But still, if you're in a pickle, if you have to transform really quickly in and out of Demon Flame, that's why we use it. The second skill we are using with it is the faster cooldown recovery rate, right? So that we get it back as fast as possible. Obviously, what everyone is doing with Energy Shield, how everyone is abusing it, is using Grim Fist. When you increase its quality, that just means that you get more Energy Shield, and when you level it up, it means you also got more Energy Shield from the Grim Remnants. We also are using Clarity on it because we can afford to. Archmage is something that you use for bosses. So what you would do for bosses is you would basically just use one single curse, which is Despair. no mana regen, and now you can use Archmage together with Despair. This is the boss melting, right? Build that we were talking about before. This is how you get over 1 million. But since this is now focused on something else, let's leave Archmage just for a moment and explain how this works normally. So I am using double debuffs on the enemy. Why? Because we don't need any damage. Nowhere. You don't need any extra damage from like curses when you are doing breaches. When you are doing bosses, yes, but when you are doing simulacrums, breaches, mapping, you don't need extra damage. You basically just want to slow them, and this slow means that their casting speed, their attack speed, everything gets slowed down. You want to enfeeble them so that you basically bring down their damage, and here is where this build gets interesting. Excuse me. Together with Blasphemy, we are using Encumbrance. So anytime we get slowed, anytime we get webbed or chill effect gets on us or anything like that, this reduces the magnitude. Nothing special. Oh, sorry. Mixing it up. So this increases the slow magnitude of the temporal chains. Yes. The second one is the extra area of effect, because we want to be affecting as many people, as many monsters as possible. The third one is stun threshold. So this is what I was trying to explain about stun threshold. Why we have such a high one. Why we basically cannot get moved by any mob. This skill gem or support gem is amazing. Does a great job, and that's why we are using it here. Now, our main source of damage is obviously Hexblast. We do have the extra or the max quality on it. This is the first immediate max quality that you want to put, is the Hexblast. We are using 30% more damage, no crits, because we aren't focusing on critical hits. +1 to supported chaos skills, which does increase your mana but does increase your DPS, or mana that you have to pay for it, but does increase your DPS without sacrificing casting speed and without sacrificing AoE. I know those exist, but this is basically the best option for us because we want to keep the AoE and the casting speed. Arcane Surge, as I explained, mana, casting speed, this thing is amazing. Since I pivoted into Arcane Surge, this build really started to shine in like huge mob settings, like the breach encounters, and also for simulacrums, right, where you also have to be casting things really quickly because the mobs keep spawning. Like, there are not a lot of them, but they keep spawning, so you have to have a cast down pretty much all the time. Increased cast speed, nothing to explain there, and we did explain Hexblast, and Demonform is a mana hungry bitch. Next we have Contagion. Please don't ask me why I leveled all the skills so far, like why I 6-linked them. I really love this build. I really wanted to invest in it. So yeah, sue me, judge me, tell me that I'm stupid in the comments, but I really went all in. So Contagion, we are basically using freeze build-up. This is amazing, guys. I know most people won't agree, but even if you are doing mob setups where they're like exploding a lot or where they're reviving corpses, this is amazing. You drop this on one mob and everything explodes as if it was frozen. As for the boss encounters, like now that I'm doing Simulacrum where you always have mobs around the boss, the best thing you want to do is drop Contagion on one of the mobs, drop Hexblast, because once the Contagion transfers over to the boss, to the like mob you actually want to kill, it's already multiplied. It's so strong, it basically freezes it in a moment. Like, I'm doing Simulacrum, the bosses get frozen in basically 1 or 2 hits with this combo. So Chaotic Freeze with Contagion is insane if you know how to use it and how to strategically place it. If I just place it on a boss, it does take a bit longer, but we are doing so much damage with this build that it actually procs at least one time, giving you a nice open window where you stack up also the stun break, and then they also start falling down once they are unfrozen, and you just get a nice clear all the way. We also use Hinder because we are not using it on the curse passive. It just gives a bit more slow, you know. There's room there, why not? I did not decrease the duration but increase the damage of Contagion because the damage of Contagion is not important. I wanted to stay on the boss for as long as possible because we are also using it with Dark Effigy. Obviously nothing new here. Most people that have done Hexblast builds also use Dark Effigy with Contagion. But yeah, I am currently using it with Font of Mana because basically we are dropping it on ourselves before the boss fight starts. And even now in the simulacrums, you're basically standing in one place all the time. So this works. This is really nice. You can actually use it to get some mana back. I wouldn't recommend casting it after too much. Yes, during boss fights. No, during simulacrums. That's what I meant. But yeah, for the initial like combat, it can just help you with your mana sustain. We are obviously applying Withered. Withered is great. It's just increasing your chaos damage. I'm not going to over-explain these things. We are using Blind because that's amazing. It's just a 100% chance to blind, so why not? And we are increasing its skill effect duration. Now, one thing I would like to point out would be a shout out to these two gems, what I have been using during my campaigning, during my, mapping, getting up to level 15 and stuff like that. I was using it on bosses when I had like 60k DPS with 10 Demon Flame stacks. I was using this because, you know, when bosses get poisoned, when they get bled, that's just extra DPS for those longer fights, so it's really nice. Both of these work with the totem. One more thing I would like to point out before we move on to the rest of the skills. If we will have to give up the Mask of the Stitched Demon interaction, there is an option, at least for clearing really huge breaches, and if you increase the density of the breaches by 40%, this works even better with Cannibalism. You can go up to your maximum stacks and then start clearing the breach, because this will actually keep you alive. This counteracts your life drain for Demon Flame so much. It's insane. It's insane. So, just so you know, if it gets patched, there is hope, at least for the breaching, right? I don't know so much about the simulacrums, but because I've only done them on this build, right? But for the breaching, this is a really nice option. And if you have some more spirit, you can always take regenerate 1 life per second with vitality. It takes 20 spirit for that 1%. It's not that good. Like, you have to understand, our life is really low, right? So that 1% life regen is like basically nothing. Yeah, so continuing with the build, we are going to transform now. So that was Dark Effigy. Now, for the bosses, when you start the boss encounter, doesn't have to be for a long time, you just dropped Mana Tempest. It's that simple. You simply drop Mana Tempest, you stay within the area, while you are also, let me just show you guys how this works. So now we transform into Demon Form, and you just stay here. Now, normally, for most builds, this will drain your mana very fast. Like in a second or maybe 2 seconds, your mana is gonna be gone as soon as you start casting something, right? For us, however, it's actually bugged. It doesn't work right now. It does absolutely nothing except gain 88% of lightning damage as extra damage while we are doing, so this is also the speed increase, right, that we get. I mean, it's everything we want. You just drop it, you just stay inside of it for as long as you can, and then when you leave it, sure, you can just recast it and use it again, and that's it. It's amazing. So, something bugged out, I can't recast it. Sometimes it bugs out, but considering what it's giving us with its bugging out, I'm just gonna give it a +5 here. Use it while it doesn't get fixed, guys, it's really good. So we are using it with the energy shield recharge begins immediately. Calling Strike, this actually works, right? Just a heads up, if we are going to be doing some other things later where we won't be able to stack up Demon Flame up to 500, this is really useful. You just drop Mana Tempest when you're sure that your 60k DPS Curse Explosion is gonna actually, Hexblast is gonna actually kill the mobs, and Calling Strike is gonna take care of it. Trigger Wind Wave when stunned while using supported skills, and 15% more damage from the supported skills. Basically just the best setup that you can use here. The Skeletal Warrior interaction is something I have to show you guys. Like, if you go into any boss encounters, and I have seen people doing this cheese strategy, but like even people that use summoners you're doing it wrong, guys. Don't use Profane Ritual and stuff like that to slowly sacrifice one mob at a time. What you do is you keep Grim Fist, you turn everything else off, you just stack as many Skeletal Warriors as you have with Infernal Legion. This kills all of them in a matter of seconds. Like, I'm so surprised I haven't seen people doing this already. So yeah, don't use any of those skills that slowly sacrifice your minions. Use Skeletal Warrior together with Infernal Legion. Very, very easy to stack up your or overflow your energy shield before you start any big encounter anywhere where you don't have an option to pop it off to your to its double value. While we can, right? Because everyone keeps saying this is probably gonna get patched, nerfed, something. Well, you know, I wouldn't blame them. It's really strong. It's really, really strong. But yeah, this is why we are carrying with us. Like, if you're doing a simulacrum, you're in between rooms, you're not really certain that you want to continue because you finished the last encounter with a bit less energy shield than you would want to have, you can just use this. Very simple trick. So that's it for the skills. That's basically for how this build works right now at this point. I will show off all the items, don't worry. But first off, let me just point out two weaknesses. Two weaknesses of this build are Burning Ground, so do not take any tier waystones with Burning Ground, just sell that shit, make a new one, don't even bother with it. And the second one is energy shield and life regen reduced. You don't want your life regen reduced because basically it just immediately takes you out of the demon form. So I would really recommend you guys avoid those waystones, sell them, get new ones, and then do those. Sorry, I'll just have to set up this whole thing because I'm a noob, because this is the first video I ever did. So yeah, hopefully you're still sticking around and you're still interested in everything. So just showing off my equipment really quickly. We are using just a wand in case we, do have to take care of some mobs while we're not in demon form. I don't even know if these are good, like they're very basic, very just meh, but they serve their purpose. Mask of the Stitch Demon for me currently with fire resistance, because we are very tight on the resistances, but the resistances are really nice. Ghost Wraith, like I said, probably the better option is 60% of maximum life converted to energy shield. It will pop off your energy shield way higher, but I needed those resists, and I also got one that already had quality on it. I did pay 1 divine for this, so we're not talking about that decision anymore, and let's continue. 2 times Ming's Heart with the life modifier quality on it, so that I actually get to the 200 HP. I did have a better spirit amulet before this one, however I did have to switch to one that had really a lot more life regen, which is what we accomplished with this one. I'm really happy with it. No biggie, like we could maybe use while we're using Archmage, we could still use Clarity. Sure, I don't need those things. The build is working nicely as long as I have 2 curses active, which is just I just want to have 2 curses active, Just give me that fantasy. Let me have 2 curses active and debuff everything while I kill it. I love the playstyle. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we do have life regen while moving on it, because we also do have the mana regen while moving increased. So why not? This basically just gives us another 100, an extra 50 stack, I would say, an extra 50 stack of Demon Flame, where we can keep moving, where we can keep going, and extra stun threshold. You just see the theme repeating itself non-stop, because you want to prevent those mobs stunning you or doing just anything in order to prevent you from casting the spell, from just spamming Hexblast and killing them. Triple resistance gloves. The cup, yes. Excuse me. Triple resistance gloves, because as I said, for me it was kind of clutch to get all of those together. I did pay quite some amounts of currencies for all of these. Let's not get into how many. So again, it's not the cheapest build, but if you can afford it, if you want to go for it, that is why I'm explaining it. We did also explain how a bit of a you can make this work perfectly with going with a budget version without this, for example, without the helmet, and going up to 150 Demon Flame. It works perfectly, but you have to keep morphing in and out, and you drop down to 1 all the time. And I just wanted to make, I just wanted to make something broken, man. I just wanted to make something that also can melt endgame content, actually be competitive in the endgame content. So yeah. here's the belt. Again, life regen, resistances. You try to get mana if it's possible. You try to get mana on all your equipment because, you know, mana is king. But yeah, that's basically it. It's for the shoes also. I am using a freeze charm because F freeze, and these are my flasks. Now, I did get I did mention we started doing simulacrums. I did get unique flask as my first simulacrum reward, but guys, I had to sell that thing like, I just had to. When I saw how much it's selling for, I was like, wow. So yeah, next one I get, I have to actually check how the whole interaction works with this build and if it's good for this build. But yeah, for the moment, I'm just using basic flasks. Nothing special there, nothing to explain. So potential improvements and future plans for this build would be just going and getting another gem. That's basically it. Just, you know, spending like 5 points here to get another gem. If we would get to level like 100 or something like that, I would definitely be willing to take just one of these nodes, one of the minor energy shield nodes away, and the 7 levels to progress into these 2 jewels here, because for I think 8 or 9 points we can get 2 jewels here. And that's basically it. Those are the plans. The improvements we could get, of course, would be improvements to the whole concept of how Demonform works by itself, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. I think this segment has been long enough, so yeah, let's continue. Okay, so for the improvements and plans, I have already mentioned to you guys, you would want to get a 60% Ghost Wraith. That's definitely the best option to go with. Icebreaker, this is literally something I have been looking at, but considering most of the content really does not freeze you, and it's a node that's really close by where we already were on the skill tree, so I have been looking at it, but I have decided against it. Do not think it's necessary. If you would ever, however, encounter those problems, or if you are using a different kind of charm for your build, this is something you can consider. It's really cheap, 100% of maximum energy shield gained, I mean, as additional freeze threshold. That's probably just gonna work, right? But yeah, something that could also work, more life, more mana regen, more, you know, energy shield, spirit, everything we have been talking about already. So basically, this is a warning I want to show you. This is something I wanted to talk about, right? This build is glitchy AF right now. The content that I'm currently doing, not so much. Simulacrum works nicely. I haven't had any crashes. However, while I was breaching, I was using instilled amulets, instilled waystones, right, where you instill the delirium on a waystone. That thing crashes so often that it actually hurts, and when you actually are doing an insane breach clear and you leave like 1 or 2 divine orbs, you know, on the floor because you're rushing the breach and then the game crashes, I mean, just come on, guys. Also, another thing, before I broke this build, like, I had this fight, guys. I had this fight, trust me. But this happened, right? Once you touch the time warp in the last fight of Trial of Sekama, the game crashes. This is one of the rare crashes, however, where you actually get a message of why it crashed. But yeah, guys, grinding gear games, guys, I love you guys. You are making an amazing thing here. I know it's early access, but just Demonform is glitchy AF right now. Just please. Now you see it, hopefully some of them will get the memo, or they already have, or something. But yeah, one more thing I would like to point out, a lot of people didn't like Demonform because at the beginning, when you were interacting with different objects like levers and stuff like that, or during like all the different objects you interact with during the Trial of Sekama, you would have to exit Demonform. That has been fixed. Only when you exit, only when you create a town portal is when you exit Demonform. Otherwise, it works, so all good there. Yeah, so the buggy movement is also a thing. That's not something we see here, but it's actually kind of bad. Like, you get stuck on a lot of things. I don't know what to say actually. Like you just, while you're moving, you just get stuck on terrain and just kind of glitch out on terrain. Like when you glitch out on mobs, I'm okay with that. You shouldn't be dashing through mobs. It's normal that you, like, you know, that you are stopped by mobs because they are still mobs. But when you just get stuck on terrain, it would be nice if like the transition, you know, went a bit more smoother on those curves and edges. The delirium glitches I spoke about. One other glitch that happens is when you very quickly click near casting a portal after you cast a spell. So once you cast a spell and then very quickly click near the portal, the game crashes. For some improvements, I would also mention to grinding gear games, like, guys, give us something that works with Infernal Flame, right? Right now, trying to make Demon Form work with Infernal Flame, where you are basically trying to bring your health as low as possible and your energy shield as high as possible, it's a no-go. Like, you cannot tell me that this is supposed to work with Demon Flame. It's not. And it's sad, because it's it's basically what everyone would want to do, right? Just having that double, you know, getting too much power and then getting damage from that power, and it's not working. You really need to do something like maybe make one of the extra nodes on the ascendancy where like demon flame damage, where infernal flame damage no longer ignites you, so at least it doesn't, you know, keep your energy shield from refilling for a really long time. Maybe there are some broken interaction I haven't seen on the passive skill tree with where you convert your regen into energy shield and stuff like that, but right now it's just a no. Also, the fourth ascendancy right now for Demon Flame is useless. I mean, the fourth node for the Demon Flame, where you can keep it at 10, that's useless, guys. Like, you basically make yourself weaker by spending more points. How about you make the cap higher? That's one thing. You could make it cap at 100, at 200. Let's be realistic. 200 would be what we need for the end game scaling, what we need for what you expect us to actually clear, right? Maybe we could make it work with less, but I would say at least 200. Maybe just make it so that when you reach the when you reach the point where your life regen would start, you know, when Demon Flame would start overflowing the life regen, that it actually just stabilizes at that point and freezes, kinda. You know what I mean? Maybe make it that. I don't know. Just try to make it something else, because right now it's really underwhelming. It's not working. It's nice when you are starting out with this build and you don't have a lot of health regen and you just want to make something work on the lower tier maps. It's fine. It's nice. It works great. But after that, it's really bad. I don't know what you guys were thinking with that. But yeah, those are my thoughts for now. There is one last thing, as I did say. I do have a surprise for the end. So this is just gonna be a Twisted Domain level 81. But we will switch to a level 82 boss fight of Twisted Domain, so you guys can actually see how quickly this melts bosses once we get to like 1 million DPS. As I said, this was the last level of Twisted Domain. The footage the footage we are seeing right now, not this is level 81, but the boss that I edited in after that, that's level 82. I would like to apologize for the lack of sound here. I'm pretty sure that the game did not capture it, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm just gonna be talking over it. I had a video from a day before, but apparently something happened. I didn't have enough space on my disk. That happened during my recording, and then it got deleted, you know, halfway through. So yeah, never mind. You can see me here abusing or just showing off very quickly the whole skeleton warrior interaction, how you can start off different encounters, different like end game content. But yeah, the saddest thing is I had to buy a bridgestone for this, right? Because I already cleared what I thought was the highest level. I mean, I already cleared and filmed it, but then I realized I didn't. I didn't. So I had to buy a bridgestone of the currency exchange for this. Yeah, we are here on an AoE farming build right now for the beginning of this encounter, but for the boss, obviously, we are going to be using the boss melting build. Yeah, I think that was all. So without further ado, let's go into the final fight. Okay. So this is how we melt a boss. right? If you froze there at the beginning, you saw the DPS, you saw how high it was. We just go in, we drop this, and this like for itself. I would like to thank everyone who came and actually listened to this whole video. Wow, 46 minutes. Well, I knew I wasn't gonna make it 30 minutes, but still. Thanks everyone, you know, the whole like, comment, subscribe thing that everyone always says at the end of the video, so I would really appreciate if you guys are gonna do it. I did work a lot to make this, so I hope you enjoyed it. Help me improve, guys. Any suggestions, any ideas, anything, because, you know, I'm a noob. I just started this, I have no idea what I'm doing. I will be streaming this build with its simulacrum version, and if I will see there was enough interest for this build, for this video, I will also make the simulacrum video, so I can explain how that build works. It's just a bit different, but you know, you can at least see the footage of how it works. But yeah, we are gonna be streaming this, because I did start streaming, or rather am starting. There is going to be a link in the description if you wanna come and hang out and join. So again, thank you everyone who actually stuck around, and have a good one. Love you all. Bye bye.